Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. It's not warm when she's away. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. She's always gone too long. Anytime she goes away. Hi, welcome back to another One Chart lesson. Today we're doing another Bill Withers song, Ain't No Sunshine. It's been done a lot by many different people, including Tom Jones, Denny Hines, Michael Jackson, Freddie King. Just so many people have done covers of this great song. I didn't want to do another lesson for it, just like everything else, because there are a lot of really good lessons out there. But one of the things I've discovered recently is a John Mayer version of this song, which he does live with a really good groove to it. So what I thought I'd do, I was looking at that and thought I would put a lesson together with the way Bill Withers played it, which is as I've done it just here now on the guitar. Throw in a little bit of the John Mayer stuff as well, and put in two solos from a recent cover I saw of this done by two guys called Ian Moss and Troy Cassar Daley. In Australia, they're pretty well known. Ian Moss is the guitarist from Chisel. Troy Cassar Daley is a country and western star in his own right. Both very experienced guys, great players. They did a version of this on a local radio station, and they both took a little, I think it's a 16-bar solo each. Really well played. It's totally improvised, but they're really two very nice acoustic guitar solos. So I've tabbed them out and I've included them in this lesson. So download your chart. There's a bit there including the solos tabbed out, as well as the John Mayer riffy kind of electric guitar groove for this song, and the original Bill Withers simple, beautiful, simple acoustic guitar stuff that he does. So let's get started. First of all, the chords for this are A minor 7, E minor 7, G7. And when it goes to the chorus, which is Ain't No Sunshine When She's Gone, is E minor 7 down to D minor 7, back to A minor 7. Now it's a very simple groove. Bill Withers plays this with some kind of shell voicings, which are really just, for the A minor 7, he uses 5th fret E string, 5th fret D string, and 5th fret G string. Now the easiest way for me, I find, is those three fingers, but you can use those three fingers. You could do that if you wanted to, whatever works for you. But if we do this, that's where we'll start. And you just play the bass note with your thumb, followed by the two other strings together with first and second fingers, and just alternate them in eighth notes. 1 and 2 and. In the pattern, there's one bar of A minor for 2 beats, then A minor 7 for 2 beats, then E minor 7 for a beat, G7 for a beat, then a bar of A minor 7. So it's like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. On the second bar of the A minor 7, Bill just holds that for the whole bar because he sings over the top of it, and it makes it more spacious, and it really kind of works. Then when he goes to the Ain't No Sunshine When She's Gone, we go up to 7th fret A string and 7th fret G string, 8th fret B string. Now that's the same three notes you would find in an E minor 7 bar chord like that, but he's just playing them again as a shell voicing. You can play them like that, doesn't really matter. Again, just alternating the eighth notes, holds that for a whole bar, or 4 beats. Down, same shape, down 2 frets, gets you to the D minor 7. That last little slide going from the G7 to the A minor 7 again, I find sometimes that generates a bit of string noise. And if you don't want to do that, what you could do from the G7 is just play the open A string and get back up to those 2 higher notes like that. Then you can come across to that A string if you want to continue that sort of fingering. But that's just a little trick to kind of eliminate a little bit of messy string slide if you want to. If you don't do it. That's the acoustic version. That's really all there is to it. And it goes through verse, chorus, does the stops in the middle, which I've mapped out exactly the timing for those stops where he goes, I know, I know, I know, I know, and goes on for a long time. Apparently, that was just meant to be a place filler when he recorded it. Just put that in there because he hadn't written that verse yet, but then they decided to keep it because it sounded good and it worked. Anyhow, that's the acoustic guitar version. Now we're going to jump on over to breaking down the solos and the John Mayer rhythmic version. Let's do the John Mayer rhythmic version first, and then we'll run through the 2 solos at the end. Okay, to break this John Mayer stuff down just a little bit, it's all pentatonic stuff on the John Mayer version that I'll put a link below to. I'll put a link to as many different great versions as I can to this, including the Ian Moss and Troy Cassar Daley one with the radio station performance and the solos that I've got tabbed out. But in the John Mayer version, he's actually playing it down in the key of G instead of A, so he's moved it down a whole step. But what basically we are doing, and I've tabbed it out on your chart, and this is a slightly simplified version. He's kind of improvising this riff throughout the whole song, so he never plays it exactly the same way twice, but this will give you a fairly good idea. In a nutshell, this John Mayer riff, starting on the A, 5th fret of the E string, that little key riff, you're grabbing the top 2 strings on the 5th fret, you're just releasing the pressure slightly on your first finger, but with your pinky you are getting the 8th fret B string, right? So you're going, and then you're coming back down to the 5th fret again. This time you're including the G string, and it doesn't matter if you get that top E string or not. So you're going, and you get that na 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 sort of sound, but it's a bit messier than that because you get several strings for the price of one. Right? That's the key part to the first riff. Right? Next thing he does quite often, quite regularly, heads up to the 7th fret A string, which is an E note, goes from 7 to 10 with his pinky, and then reaches over to the 7th fret with his first finger on the D and G strings, and goes up to the 9th fret on the D string with his 3rd finger, but keeps that 7th fret on the G string with his first finger, so like that. And sometimes he hammers, but it's like this. And sort of just wanders around that little bit there. Sometimes he goes, slides down to the 7, and then comes back down into that A minor pentatonic shape. But that's kind of it the whole way through. The bit where it leads into the next chord, which is E, and I'll show you that in a minute, he kind of simplifies the riff, and that's where the vocals go, ain't no sunshine when she's gone. So he kind of follows that rhythm a little bit. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. Just simplifies it a little bit, makes it not too busy because you can't be playing too much over the vocals in these parts. And the key for this riff really is to kind of keep it groovy. If you have to play less notes, if you have to simplify this riff even more to make it sound groovy and keep it in the pocket, do it, because that's a far better cause to keep that groove going than it is to play these great John Mayer riffs as well as he does. Because let's face it, it's John Mayer. So then we go up to the E. Now what he does here, and I've tabbed out one of his riffs, which is very, very fast. Those first three notes, first four notes really, you're hammering on and off from 12 to 15 on the B string, very quickly, coming down to the 14 on the G. And then 12 on the G, 14 on the D, right? So then drops down to 12 on the D, 11 on the G, then moves up with his first finger across the 12s on D, G, and B, adds the 15 with your pinky on the B string, just for a quick moment, then back to the 12 and 11 on the D and the G strings. So it's then moves down to the D, 10th fret, and this is also kind of crazy as well. It takes a little bit to get your fingers around, but what he does one of the times, because he's changing it all the time, don't forget, is it slides off that 10. Right? So that's a lovely riff, but it takes a little bit to get all that together. And if you're a bit messy, it doesn't matter. I didn't do that totally precisely there. As long as you get the idea. And remember, if you need to simplify it a little bit to get it sounding good, do that. That's the E, down to the D, and then back to the groove. And get back into that groove that way. That's the John Mayer part. Now, you can spend weeks and weeks of your life trying to get that down note for note the way he plays it, but I can guarantee he doesn't play it the same way twice, and the important thing is that groove. Moving on. Okay, last but not least, we have the solos, the two solos by Ian Moss, followed quickly thereafter by the solo by Troy Cassar Daley. And I'm going to step through them just very slowly. You heard me play them in full at the start of the lesson. We're going to start with the Ian Moss solo. That's the first 16 bars. The second 16 bars rolls straight into the end of Ian's solo, and that's Troy. That little run there, really nice. You need to hammer on to make that smooth. Hammer on up to 2nd fret, 3rd fret. Straight away jump over to the 2nd fret G string. Get up from 4 to 5 with a slide on the G string. Play the 5 on the E string like that. So that note there is very quiet. This riff, very, very tasty. It's easy to do in one position if you use your pinky on that 10th fret of the B string and slide off the 10 on the A string. Then he kind of just hits the E string and does a percussive sort of sound, and then slides up from 7 to 9 on the D string. So you just need to slide up by 2 frets, which is most of the slides here, except for that one I showed you just before. Most of these slides, and a general rule of thumb is if you're going to slide into a note, don't slide from anything more than 2 frets away unless it actually says so, because that's enough. That little note there he hits is kind of out of the scale, but it works. And heads into those kind of triplet feels for the last 6 notes. So da 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 da, and then he goes to triplets. Da 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 da. Then Troy comes in. That little bit there, it's hard to get the timing right, but I wouldn't worry about it too much, because what he does after he goes, he plays a couple of notes down here around an A minor chord, then slides up to that 5th fret E string, hits a percussive sound, and then the important part is where you come into this bit, because he's on that A minor 7, but he's using the top 3 notes, which is the 5th fret G string, 5th fret B string, 5th fret E string, all covered with your first finger. And does it twice, but then at the beginning of the next bar on the 1 beat, he does a really fast hammer on with his 3rd finger on the G string up from 5 to 7, whilst keeping the other notes on the 5. So it sounds like this. Does that 2 times, then the hammer again by itself without the other notes. That note up there, you slide from 5 to 7, but you kill the note immediately and jump down to 3. So again, a couple of notes down there on the A minor chord, but again the important part is how you come out of it to do this. Again, the same 3 notes that we're talking about, but this time we're playing 7 on the G, followed by 5 on the B, 5 on the E, back to 5 on the B, and that's actually a Jimmy Page-ism, if you like. You'll find that riff if you go looking for it in the Stairway to Heaven solo. So when you do that, you've got to jump up to the 8th fret and immediately slide up to 10. When you come back down to the 8, you want to push that up as a little bend, not too far. So you're going. And that's all pentatonic stuff. Finally he goes. And that last little one, he slides it very quickly. You can hammer it if your pinky's up to it, but that's the way he plays it. So it's kind of like. That's the end of the solo. That's the end of the lesson. Ain't No Sunshine is just one of the all-time classic songs, which is why it's been done by so many people. One of the best versions, I think, is the Stevie Wonder version where he plays it live, sitting next to Bill Withers on stage. It's fantastic. I don't know the instrument that Stevie Wonder's playing, but as always, he just puts just this groove, this funky groove into this song. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. It was a lot of fun putting it together, and we hope to see you back here soon.